start telling stories. Let's do this right.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Democracy 3.0. We are a collaborative organization whose goal is to innovate collaborative democratic processes to express that would be able to express the desires and preferences of a large number of people with a coherent consensus that everyone's basically okay with. And the end goal ultimately is to grow our organization where it's large enough that consensus becomes our demand to Congress to say, this is, the will of the people. This is exactly what we want. Do this. And if you don't, we're going to vote you out and put in someone who will. So that's Democracy 2.0. Today, I want to try maybe talking about ideas for the first half, and then maybe working on stuff in the second half, maybe like our platform in the second half. So that's what I have to say now, and it's just the four of us right now, so speak as the spirit moves you. So TC, I think you had something you want.
Yeah, I'm sitting on it. I'm excited. So as you know, I came from watching Citizens Assembly in Ireland to watching deliberative polling in this country. And the whole idea is to get the citizens to talk to each other and come to something that most people can agree on most of the time. And so I started deliberative dialogue with the hopes of creating these groups where people would dialogue. And then I found out that Brian had written this blueprint for a better America. And I thought, oh my, we can take that and take pieces of that, and that'll be our point of discussion. And then I got involved with getting a thing going with Stanford University, and we did it, and I saw the format, and today I woke up and I realized I can do that format. I'm editing Brian's and Sasser doing these hearings every Monday and Thursday. So I'm editing them. I'm taking out all the ums and ahs and pauses and putting in some cute pictures here and there. And I realized I have a little 4-minute video of section 2. And then I have a little video, another 4-minute video of section 101. So I can play the video and then we can discuss it. And that, I think I'm going to move my meeting to Wednesday. What's your schedule, Sass?
Wednesdays I have therapy at 10 a.m. Central, so it's 8 a.m. your time. And then I'll do Crossing Guard one more Wednesday, but after this next week, that is the last one. And then I'm in at 4:30 for Hyde Park Bar and Grill, so that's 2:30 your time, 2:30 p.m. That's when I go in. And then I'm usually not, at least for now, I'm not going to be available to do much after that. So that's my schedule.
So Wednesday's out for you anyway. So, because I was going to move the meeting to Wednesday for you and
yeah, I mean, it depends on what time of day. It's not necessarily totally gone, but
okay, I digress. I yield to Noe to see what he has to say. Neo, I'm in.
Me?
Yeah.
What about me? For Wednesdays?
No, I want to just hear I want to hear your energy and
Well, do you mind after I finish eating? That's why I
okay.
my thing. I'll talk later on. You'll ask me.
that's all right. I got something to say.
Sass will take it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
Neil.
I meant to say this last week, and I passed out. I didn't, so I didn't make the meeting. So sorry. But yeah, no. So we did the thing with the Center for Deliberative Democracy, and I've been getting feedback from like Sarah and Andrea and stuff. And I think that there's like a lot of like really obvious stuff that we are all kind of like, know like, okay, yeah, we need longer speaking times, we need to have more control, or we need a little bit less structure on the proposals and not have it kind of pre-made so much. And but I think one of the things that was like easy to miss that worked really, really well was how smooth the experience was, at least for those who had the full setup. A lot of people were trying to use other browsers or whatever, but that like the cutoff and the transitions between speakers, the video and the audio switching was really, really smooth and really quick, where you didn't even notice it. It did not feel like Zoom. That is, I think, so important. It felt so much closer to real-time collaboration with people than any video meeting I've ever been in before. It still doesn't feel like real life, but it's way closer. And I think that is a really, really important thing that we need to keep in mind. Is like, okay, when we build this, we need to make sure, first and foremost, that it's on a lot more platforms. It cannot be restricted to just Google Chrome browsers and Android phones. Like, it needs to be way more accessible. But number two, like it needs to retain that like quality and smoothness. And I think that may require that we say that it's just not encrypted. And I think that's okay. I think we can say this is not a private meeting room for you to just like hang out with your friends. This is a public space for conversation. And in order to facilitate that, our focus is on accessibility and smoothness. And like maybe we'll be able to get to like really great encryption somewhere down the line. But if that impacts performance negatively in a way that upsets the flow of the meeting, like maybe we can make that an option to turn on, but it should not be the default. I think that smoothness is really important. And I think that we should be clear about our objectives with it and understand how important that piece of it is. So that's just a thought that I had about it.
Sass, by smoothness, you mean audio quality? Is that what you mean?
So like when a speaker, like all the transitions and everything, like it felt very real time. And I mean, you're able to get some trickery in there because you're only having one person speak at a time, but it's like you had the cue and everything. I think better visuals for when your time is almost up. I think we could do better on that. But like with the switching, right? So like if you think about like when you go to share screen on Zoom, it takes like 4 or 5 seconds for things to get going. It's a whole thing. Sometimes there's like delays and who it picks to talk or whatever. I think the smoothness of those transitions that it had, if you think back to it, I think that was like an easy thing to not notice because it was done so well. And I think that is going to be absolutely crucial for us to nail on the technical aspect of it. It's not easy, right? Like to be able to do that cross-platform is very hard, but I think that is going to be one of the big technical hurdles that we have with building that part. And I think it's an important thing that we need to keep in mind, that we need to say that like the smoothness and performance of this needs to stay up. And that I think that is absolutely vital.
May I speak to Sass? That's great. I had no idea. I'm going to probably send some of this to Alice to let her know what we're thinking. I sent her a video when I reported to the group and she liked that. And so it's helping them there to get an idea of what the people are experiencing. So that's very good. And Brian, you're a busiest man on the planet today. I think Neo's eating, so you can talk. I'm sorry, Eddie, I'm just taking over the meeting.
No, it's okay. But I we do have 6 people now, so I think I'll go ahead and use the circle format.
take over, Eddie.
Yeah.
I'm, s- I
Yeah,
apologize.
just to brief Brian and Namdi a little bit. Democracy 3.0 is a organization which is innovating collaborative democratic processes. So how do you take 300 million people with different ideas, preferences, values, and aggregate all of that into one coherent consensus that everybody's more or less okay with? And our ultimate goal is to grow the organization large enough that we have power as a block of voters to tell Congress, this is what we want, do that. um, so we go in a circle, and you're welcome to talk as you like, or if you have nothing to say, you're welcome to pass. And for today's meeting, we're doing something a little bit new, which is we're going to try talking about ideas in the first half, and in the second half, maybe try to do a little bit of work. Like maybe we can work on our platform, I guess, our ideas, our platform. Yeah. So Namdi, go ahead.
Hello, how are you? I'm just can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I know most of you all, on here. So I'm just here. I don't really know. I'm here for the first time. So I'm gonna do some what is it? I'm gonna do some listening and just understanding how you guys how you guys are doing stuff. But I'm just here, just really interested to hear what I don't really have anything really to say, but just just here to listen pretty much.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sorry.
Thanks, Namdi. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, what are you asking, Eddie? Wait, problems or what are we?
So for the first half, just ideas. So like, speak as you wish, as we normally do. And then for the second half, we're gonna work on the collaborative platform. Give that a try. But for now, as whatever you'd like to. Brian just
Okay.
finished a big Twitter space with Namdi. So yeah.
So yes, well, so you guys all know my pitch, which is end poverty, end mass incarceration, and the endless wars. And I know it is expecting me to pull out my prop of the 207-page legislative package, so I'm going to disappoint him and not do that tonight. Um, but but yeah, like the Republicans and Democrats are screwing us. They are not representing the American people. They are allowing these problems to fester, and they're doing it because there's too much money to be made by them ignoring it. And they wrote the rules in a way that we can't start a third party to challenge them. They make ballot access laws so we can't run independent candidates. And even if we can, they are like, it's so expensive because they've raised so much money promising to fix these problems that you can't outspend them. And so the system doesn't work. We have to do something. And the way to do it is to stop playing their game and stop competing to be the ones in charge, and instead compete to get our solutions enacted. And since the Democrats and Republicans they're playing the game of who gets to be in charge. And when we refuse to do that, and then we can make the system work for us by changing the way the game is played. And so stop being distracted by the who. I don't care if Donald Trump is going to run for president in 2024. I know it gets people all worked up, but I don't care. I care about the fact that we just let 3 million children fall back into poverty on top of the 9 million children who are already there. I care about all the millions of people who are waking up behind bars. And I care that for some reason, everybody's all focused on this war in Ukraine, which is, as far as I can tell, is because there's white people that are getting killed instead of all the other people of color around the world that we are, like, our bombs are killing. We're children who are starving to death in Yemen and have been for years, and nobody seems to care. Why is that? Our priorities are all screwed up, and we can do better by getting back to the basics of what do we want, who do we want to be as a country, what do we stand for? And the answer is in the Constitution, what we're supposed to be doing, and we've forgotten it because we've allowed this culture of greed to grow up where we've been persuaded that we should all just think about ourselves. And it doesn't work, and society is rotting. And so we need to be reborn. We need to refocus on what we're supposed to be doing. And that's what the American Union is. We need to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and provide for the common defense, not a global military blueprint, but the common defense, and promote the general welfare, ensure the health, happiness, and prosperity of Americans, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, not let our children inherit a polluted planet that, like microplastics, like babies are born with microplastics already in their body. This is how much our pollution is destroying the world, and nothing's being done about it. We've got to change the way that the system works so that we can come together around actual solutions and not just throw money at politicians who make empty promises that they're going to do something and they don't do it. And even if they go there with the best of intentions, they really want to solve the problems. And I believe that there's some of them that did, like AOC or Cory Bush. But the problem is that they're one person in a big swamp, and one person can't clean up a swamp. It takes cooperative effort. You know, I used to be in the legislature and I was one person in a 400-member body, and there was very limited to the things that I could do by myself. And so we need a new strategy, and that strategy is working together outside of the swamp and writing clean legislation, which I would show right now if I wasn't purposely not using my legislation as a prop. We can write it outside the swamp and not care about who gets to the president's desk, but just focusing on what do we want done. So, all right, that's my rant of what I forget what the original top prompt was, but that's my rant. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Neo, go ahead.
We're talking, you said ideas, right?
Yep.
Okay. I put together a list of unions that I want to start reaching out to. And that turned to 2 pages quickly. And that's just writing down the names and the basic information, phone numbers and address. And then I started writing a list of all the people I need to get in touch with. And what was getting to is, how am I going to keep track of all of these people who, once I get in touch with them, it's like a network. Once each node is gonna turn into more different nodes, and it kind of, I started seeing Brian's 3.5% growing from there, because if I could come up with 2 pages of unions that are that have memberships of over 10,000 each, when I get in touch with those union workers, they're also gonna probably give me other connections from there, especially if what I'm gonna be trying to advocate is for the betterment of their membership. And so I started looking into CRMs, and I guess how to use that. And I guess my idea right now would be, if Brian has thought that far ahead with how to keep track of all the multitude of people. And then I started also thinking that this may not just be for me, but if we're working in a group and we're having all of these connections with so many different people, especially a block that is going to be of people who may not agree with the entire thing, but agree with 80% or 70% or whatever percentage of what we put on the platform, it is best for us to know what areas of that platform they support, have some type of weight of how much they support that and what they don't support and why they don't support it, and all of these other basic questions that will turn into surveys, I guess, but it would allow us to manage our membership, the block that we're trying to put together, because we need to know so much metadata pertaining to everyone in that network. And this is not just the voting block. We're talking also the relationships that we have with institutions and maybe perhaps their membership. So it's a huge database that needs to be put together. And I've never dealt with a CRM. CRM stands for client customer relationship management. And I guess if we're talking ideas, I would love to see it. Has you guys thought about it or have run into what I'm running into? Because what we want to do, I can't see past this. This is something that we either have to learn how to use and not only use it, but maintain it and constantly put in more information there. And hopefully when we start doing phone banking integrated, so the phone banking to update the data of either each member, or when we represent, I'm going to call it our movement, we want to be able to put in what these meetings, if I meet with you guys, I want to be able to, let's say somebody who's working with me or anyone working within our group or circles or tangential circles should be able to look at this information and know what Thomas is all about, or what Eddie's specialization is, or what he spoke about, or that time that Brian gave that one speech that covered things that he usually doesn't talk every day, but not that information everyone should know. And we can't be having him repeat it every time he's gonna come to these meetings. But if we have a proper CRM, we could keep track of our own people, our memberships, our relationships, maybe even have it with politicians. What Brian is talking about is hard ass negotiations with politicians, and that may take a lot of interactions, but those interactions are important for everyone working towards what we're working towards, be able to see every interaction that Brian had, even if we miss a meeting and Brian wasn't able to brief us on it, or eventually we're going to get to the point where we're too big to even have a meeting with Brian, but yet it's important that we be able to look through the CRM and get up to date with whatever it is that he's working on, or who he's working with, or where he's at a certain point. And I'm just using him as an example, but a better example would be individuals of our voting block. Anyway, so that's what the idea I wanted to stimulate, and where I'm at with, because I know Brian wanted to talk about this is eventually about how we're gonna gather these people. And I don't know, I guess that was in the back of my mind. And when I'm trying to map everything, that's where that we need to overcome that point if we're going to realize everything else that we've been talking about. I yield the floor.
Thanks, Neo. TC, go ahead.
Oh, I'm so glad to get to follow that. Neo, it was like enthralled. I mean, it's like, so you put together a list and got to the point where you realized it was too big to deal with. And then and while you were talking, I was thinking, I bet there's an app for this somewhere. And not only that, but you found out and you're looking that direction. And I'll bet there are people that are further down the road than us on the technology about this that could help us out. But this is fantastic because it's like I've been saying, we're all on the same road, but we're going down different paths. And how do we merge all of that? And you just said, well, you start with a list of people and you put it into some kind of application that where you can pull up whatever you want. And that's technology is available today. So good work. Great. And so, well, I got the floor. Brian, I wanted to tell you the story that I told earlier, but I can tell it in briefly to you, and then hopefully you'll follow along, and the rest of us have already heard it. But my epiphany today was, remember how I first came here and I asked you, can we use your blueprint for discussion group? And today, when I was editing the video, I realized that's what they did at Sanford, was they started with a little video, and then they had the information. And I got section 2 lined out, and I got it in my mind how to set it up. And then we have something to discuss. And it even ends with the question, how do we want our country to look in the future after the pandemic? Beautiful, beautiful. So I yield.
I really love what Neo was talking about, and it with the like the overlapping circles, the different organizations, the networks and the nodes, and including as how to bring that together. And lately, I've been thinking about an idea where eventually it's like a virtual 24/7 conference or expo, and a section of it can be like political movement, and so anybody can set up a booth. So Brian's got his American Union booth, TC's got his deliberative democracy booth. We've got the what's it called, the people's assemblies or the citizens assemblies, all these I butchered.
United People Assembly,
United
UPA.
UPA, the United People's Assemblies.
Yeah.
was their booth.
By the way, have anybody of you been able to go attend? No,
I
not yet.
haven't attended. Yeah, not yet.
Oh, you
I
should.
went today.
I gotta get to it. But so it's a way for these different people and organizations to find each other, and for people to find and discover these organizations. It could be organized by sort of by the ideas, but I guess like a very very early stage, and it could include people. And so it's like a very early stage of it would be, I think, what we were just talking about, where maybe each of us does like a simple, like almost like a social media profile. Like Brian just does something simple, like a maybe a flyer's worth of information about the American Union. TC, you could do deliberative democracy. I might do something about UBI enabled community currencies, and things like that. So yeah, that just brought that up for me. We are past 11:30. Justin, welcome to the group. I'm so glad that you made the meeting today. And
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
yeah, and today to let you know kind of what we're doing here. Today, with the second half of our meeting, we're going to work on our collaborative platform. So sort of like Neo was talking about, like, as we're inviting people to come join us, we want to be able to tell them, well, what is this organization for? What is our vision for how America should look going forward? So I'm going to share screen, and then I'm going to say that, working together, like we can, anybody can just, unmute yourself and just talk as you like. So I've got a very basic thing ready. So can you guys see that? Let's see.
It's trying. It hasn't.
Fine.
It says, oh, there it is. Boom. It's up.
Okay. So this is our collaborative consensus so far. So I've started with, Brian's three big points: end poverty, end mass incarceration. I said end wars. I think Brian often says end the endless wars, but we're now having different types of wars. So I think we want to end wars in general.
Decentralized power.
Decentralized power.
Poverty is very broad. You have hunger, you have homelessness, you have we could try to end sickness. I guess that's what would universal health care would be about. Free education. How about guaranteed employment from your government, regardless if the private industry is able or not able to hire you? And also, how can we give the production and distribution of food to the people? That was with the sustainable program that we spoke about, I believe, a few meetings back, on how through communes we can produce food at a surplus, so everyone doesn't even have to buy food. Just through collaboration, everyone could, and it's self-sustainable, meaning you don't really need the government to come in and give everyone food. You just need the government to set up these communes so communities could create their own food, and this way the communities are self-sufficient. And so I don't even know how to word that, but put that in there somehow.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the broader idea of ending hunger and ending food insecurity, and basically just guaranteeing that if you're a human being, you should be able to eat
In a sustainable way, meaning in a way that we don't have to keep taxing people in order to come up with new food.
Or destroy our planet.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm completely convinced about, say, the specific solution of like communes. And it occurs to me also that I've just sort of jumped us in, both feet. But this is what we want to do. I mean, we've got 7 people in the room. We've all got different ideas, different beliefs, different values.
There's no communes in China, Eddie?
I mean, honestly,
I'm sorry, I thought I don't know too much about the socialist country of China, but I figured socialism is very difficult to put into effect without communism, and I've seen some programs where they're trying to turn the desert into forest. And I heard a Chinese person speak saying that the program started so the people who were actually foresting actually get to the yields of whatever crops they're producing, even though it was just licorice at the time, but
Yeah.
nonetheless. So I'm trying to imagine what socialist China practice their own version of socialism, and how do they do it without communism?
So
Yeah.
that's not what we're necessarily trying to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to end hunger, so I don't see how what other idea would get us to end hunger.
Unconditional basic income, which cuts across every kind of political ideology except fascism.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. We could bypass money. We could all be
No,
self-sustainable because
you can't do that until you get people to stop caring about money. You can't get people to stop caring about money until you have it in abundance. Like, it's the first step.
no, but money does not equal to
Yeah.
resources. What I'm trying, a commune would give the people access to. Mhm.
Neo, in the United States right now, today in 2022, money equals resources. It shouldn't. It's bullshit. It's dumb. It's stupid. But it's the reality that we live in,
So-
and we're
I'm
not
talking
gonna be able-
economics, Sass.
No, listen to me.
Resources and
listen to
money
me.
are
I'm
not
talking
the
about
same
no,
thing.
Neo,
And
listen. I'm talking about human psychology. So long as people are stuck in survival mode, the ability to change their entire mindset away from what they've been indoctrinated into is just not possible. We need to get people out of poverty first before we have any chance of trying to get people to move away from money in the first place. We need to
Yeah,
make
but
money abundant.
it's not
We need-
sustainable if you're doing
Neo,
it.
it's not about forever. It's about right now.
Sas, let me give this a
Thanks.
try. Yeah. So Neil, in China, there were communes, immediately after the revolution in 1949. There was, I think, some mismanagement by the government, at that time, and there were some problems. There were some problems with, they had a period where, the communes were managed by the government, and it was like it was still a top-down structure. So you had Mao at the top, and then you had high officials, and then you had lower officials, and they set up this the system where the officials were sort of rewarded, like if they did a good job and they got more production out of the communes, then they would be promoted, within the party and within the government. And for example, they had a very big problem, because some of the officials figured out that they could sort of fudge the numbers a little bit and say that they were producing more than they actually were. And then when they did that, then the thing was that part of that quota was sent to the central government. So if the official, like if they had if they put the numbers up and said we're producing more, then they had to send more to the central government, and they actually ended up with problems where they had not enough food left in the local area. But I mean that's part of what I mean. That I mean there's there are there are many possibilities, and it's quite a detailed thing. But I think for what we're trying to do, like we want to have a platform that is a consensus, that at the very least the 7S, we can say, we all agree on that. And for this, I can say, I think we can say that for the 7S, we all agree that we should end hunger, we should end poverty. People should not be insecure about their food. I think that's something we can all agree on. And I want to, we're experimenting with the process here a little bit. So I want to give it a try to say that let's go ahead and go back to the circle thing, because I think this was, faster than we can.
Will would I get a chance to
Yeah,
speak?
go ahead. Yeah, you're actually right now you're right below me, so I'll say,
Yeah.
you go ahead, man. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I think I'm being misunderstood a little bit because well, anyway, let me try to word this differently. The issue that I had with universal basic income was that let's say I prefer giving people free housing than free money to go pay rent for housing. And it has nothing to do with, oh, the system that we have of money is the one that's currently here, and none of that argument. I'm talking about efficiency, as in it is cheaper for the government to build a house and have someone live in that house than to have the treasury constantly printing out money in order to keep the capitalistic real estate industry in exploiting the people. So, okay, fine, we're ending homelessness, but if we're doing it in a way where we're using the treasury to constantly pump out money, these are the things that will eventually turn into inflation. So we can, when I speak about food and I speak about self-sustainability, I'm not thinking long-term. I'm thinking just like what SAS wants today, right now. So how do we do that without money? Well, we can't be importing all our food, because importing all our food means that we're taking all our money that the treasury is printing and sending it to some other country just so we could get something that we can make here in our own country. So if we don't take the means of production here, at least for food, and when I say communes, I mean communes, I guess we have a different definition. Communes is not creating a commune to do production for the rest of the nation. When I think of communes, I think of whoever's working that commune, do they make enough for them? If there's a surplus, that's a good thing, but I'm not trying to make production of food throughout the whole country to feed everyone else in the country. No, I'm trying to make it self-sustainable. And if you just pump more money into it, eventually, if we having an export-import problem, then we don't have the means to production, then all the money that you give out is not going to make the grocery store produce more food. So I understand that money is at the core of everything, but money is not resources, and giving people money does not guarantee that you're going to have the resources that we're looking for. So when I say self-sustainability, what I mean is put in economic mechanisms that allow the community to be able to do what it needs. So when I think of healthcare, or I mean not elder care, let's say elder care, as just trying to throw as many different examples here so my point could be made. So when we're dealing with elder care, yes, we could have, again, the treasury print out a whole bunch of money to have some type of healthcare, take care of our elders, or we could give a guaranteed job so the community could help the elders in their own communities. And this way, if we're going to use the treasury, we could use it in a way that it's going to stimulate the money to pump it within the community and not have to keep making the capital system that's enriching and ripping off the community be the central processing, central money processing for all the services and resources that the community is gonna eventually need. I yield the floor.
Thanks, Neo. TC, go ahead.
Says I have a weak internet connection, but I'm gonna try. Neo, I agree with everything up to the word commune, because I'm from the 70s and the commune meant we were gonna go in a bus out in the woods and grow crops. And I ain't into it. So what I think we do is we quit throwing away food and we start a process of these jobs you're talking about. People could be gathering the food that's being thrown away and getting it to where people need to eat it. So we could recreate the system and stop the waste and feed all the people. And we could do it basically.
We don't have a surplus to do that.
We
If you
do.
look at
People
the numbers,
already,
look-
people in this country already go dumpster diving for food that go stop grocery stores in their tracks from all the food they're going to throw out that's not expired, and they give it to food banks and they give it to homeless people. This is already a thing that happens. There are already people in your community who already do this.
that's not enough to sustain, to end.
It's not. It's
hunger.
not. No, there's a
Guys,
lot that's not sustainable
guys,
right
guys,
now.
guys,
But I like.
guys.
We need to get.
We don't
away
even
from this
have
kind of-
enough. We don't even have enough to feed the people that are paying for money with the
We
system we
do
currently
have
have.
enough.
Sass, hold
Listen.
on, Sass, hold on. So I'm just gonna make the suggestion that we stay with the circle. So like you're going to have an opportunity to speak, but you know, unless it is like an emergency, like you're gonna keel over and die, like.
All right, so
try
can
to
we
stay
just
away from-
ask for, so then let's just ask for, whenever somebody says, oh, we do have enough, then point me at the figures to convince me, because then it's gonna turn into an argument of, oh, I think there is enough, and no, I don't think it is enough. Let's find out if there is or there isn't enough. Otherwise, we're gonna be arguing like we all know, and we're not showing proof of what we're saying. So
Yeah.
if we want to have arguments like that without
yeah.
proof, I'm just gonna sit down and just.
Hold on. I agree with you. I think we should definitely look at the evidence, and I'm gonna say, you know, back to TC, and then after TC, Namdi, and then we're gonna go around the circle, and we're all gonna have a chance to speak. You know, so just, you know, let TC speak for now, Namdi, and you'll get a chance to speak.
Okay, Eddie, I think you're doing a great job holding this together. There's a lot of energy right now. And I think the man just messaged that he wants to know about the circle and when's it his turn. I think Justin hasn't even had a chance to speak, so.
He'll be right after Namdi. So
Okay, well, I yield.
thanks, Namdi.
Hello. Bro, I feel I don't know like if this can be part of the like consensus, but I was kind of thinking like, so I have a disability and I use a wheelchair, and and I also get like SSDI also. So I was thinking like probably like there's this like a limit where you can get like you can only get up to 2,000, and then if you go over 2,000, then 2,000 in what is it called? If you go over 2,000 in the limit of getting SSI, then they'll take your SSI away. So I was thinking probably like ending the 2,000 limit of SSI, if that makes any sense. Like ending like having us being able to save our SSDI money. like pretty much, because you can't normally save it. You can't have over 2,000, over the limit of 2,000. So you can't necessarily like, or they'll just take your SSI away. So I was thinking maybe just like ending the what is it called, the SSI limits, from like, just have it like unlimited, like we can have unlimited money, like we can have money over $2,000 of SSI in our, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
mhm.
Thanks, Namdi.
Yeah.
If you, so if you're done, unless you have more to say, if you're done, then I'll go to Justin, and then Brian, and then Sass.
Oh yes, I'm done. Sorry.
Thanks, Namdi.
Hey, I have different things that I think are interesting to talk about, but I'm not sure how connected they are to the stuff we've talked about so far. Is that all right, Eddie?
Yeah, as you whatever you think is, whatever you think you should be talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I think a couple things to add to the list to end would be, I think it would be really good to end misunderstanding. Sometimes people disagree, but often people agree more than they think, but they just don't understand each other. And so many times people are told things about their opponents that aren't true, and then they get extra upset about people that don't exist, that they only imagine. So I'd say end misunderstanding, so that you would still have disagreement, but at least people would understand, have like a true understanding of what their opponents are saying. I would say also, I would say, sorry, I had all these ideas and I'm thinking, oh, this is something that we can talk about, but I don't know how much it'll interest you guys. I actually don't agree with universal income. And I think that I have an argument that not everyone who's pro universal income has heard. So I don't think it's going to be like exhausting. Like, I'm not just like, oh, I hate poor people, but I don't know if you guys want to do that, because that argument could take a lot of time, and I don't want to like drag us into an argument that like everyone else finds not worth their time if you guys are all like, no, we know what we think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can definitely talk about it, and it's like, if you can, like, if you want to be aware of time, and maybe you could bring it up next time, or you could save it for later. It's up to you, man. No rules. We're all free people.
Oh, sweet.
We got a little structure to kind of, just kind of keep it a little bit balanced, but I'm definitely not going to say that you can't talk about it. All right.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
I'd love to hear it, especially since I get to go next and I can respond to it.
Sure, yeah. I would say, let me, it's a few different things. One, I guess, before I get into that, I would also say something that would probably have more common agreement is, I would say end barriers to transportation. Like, I don't know how it is in y'all's community. Eddie, I know you're in Shanghai, and I frankly just am very clueless about the way it works in a lot of other countries. I imagine that it's probably similar in a lot of other countries, but like in the US, you're pretty screwed if you don't have a car. So that would be either put more trains up or have more bike lanes or something, or just when you come of a certain age, the government gives you a car or whatever, kind of like healthcare. I don't know how you'd end it. But so with universal income, to get into that, that area, one thing is, it's really important for men's psychological health specifically. I know it's true for men. I imagine that something similar is true for women, but men really like to feel needed. So if a man is not like needed for work or like providing something, if he doesn't have people relying on him, has a negative impact on his happiness. Like, being needed by somebody and like liking his work is more strongly correlated with happiness than like a lot of things that you would think are related to men's happiness. So I'd say that's one thing that if you just, I understand that the idea of universal basic income is not that you give everybody money and then they sit around doing nothing, but it's a very different thing to feel like I am needed at work tomorrow and I have to be there. And if I'm not there, they will be down an important person. That's very different from every day you wake up and kind of do what interests you. And so I think that what universal income, one thing that it lacks is I think it doesn't give people that sense that they're needed. I think another thing that universal income advocates really overlook is that Sass probably just linked a YouTube video that just completely dunks on whatever I just said. Another thing that I think universal income advocates overlook is that we will always have some jobs. We will always have, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure as soon as I list a job, we'll always have, you guys are going to explain me why we won't. But, you know, like nurses, right? Like healthcare workers that are like directly interacting with people, like probably, I'm not sure, tutors will probably have a job for a very long time, computer programmers. And I believe strongly, and I think there's good arguments you can look into to build this up. I believe that the people who do have jobs, especially the people whose jobs are very important, will have resentment building up with them. And I think there will be some justification in that resentment if nothing is asked of the people who are given money with universal basic income. So I think that universal basic income identifies some important things. Machines are increasingly able to replace people. People will have a hard time catching up. I think it's very important in the future when we have a lot of wealth generated by machines and robots to let someone who wants to retrain or reskill, like help them pay for school if they can't afford it. And I think it's very important to try and give people a lot of options with work. But I think ultimately it's very important, unless someone is like unable to work because of a disability, or maybe if they're like a stay-at-home mom or something where they have something that they are doing that is very productive for society. I think unless they are that, they should have some amount of hours per week that they have to be doing something for someone else, and something that would be kind of like a job. I mean, I think you might as well call it a job. And that way they spend their time, I doubt that it would be a 40-hour work week. Maybe it's like even a 20-hour work week or something. But I think everyone is going to have to do some period of time a week where they're doing stuff that generates value for other people in order to receive that universal income check. And it may well be that many people are doing creative projects like writing books or creating other creative works or something, and then people go buy those books or they buy those creative works, or they tip the performer on the street corner. It may be that a lot more people are pursuing their passions, but I think if you're not able to convince someone to give you money, if you're not doing something that makes someone else say, hey, I want to pay you for that, society is going to start to resent you because you're just going to be kind of doing your own thing. And I think that that's going to lead to division in society that universal basic income advocates don't appreciate. I guess I'll yield at that point.
Thanks, Justin. Brian, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, those are. I hear your points. I don't know if you've read Andrew Yang's "The War on Normal People." One of the ways that, or you can listen to it as on YouTube, and you can listen to it in like 4 or 5 hours.
Do you mind if I say like a little bit more just before you start your response? I know that I just
It would be best. I'd suggest it would be best if you can wait till your next
Okay.
one circle.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
So what his suggestion in that book was essentially like not a social credit thing, but sort of way of connecting volunteers. And he gives the example of the guy who helps his neighbor and he gets 20 social credit points, and then he saves up his points to earn rewards and things like that, and some way of keeping score and to encourage people to help each other and kind of thing. And that's one of the ways that he addresses it. You talked about how the men feel appreciated by having jobs, by feeling needed. And I think a lot of people would like more freedom in what they do, instead of just having to do it motivated for money. Like, if Neo wants to, connect with 10 of his friends and buy a farm in Nebraska, where they know that as a group, they have $150,000 a year to, for external income coming in. And then they can all take turns, milking the cows and planting the crops and doing other thing and doing that work that sustains them without having to sell their labor in order to thrive. So yeah, is there a non-zero amount of men who won't do anything productive? Of course there is, but there's a lot of opportunities that people will do things. You said having jobs, a scarcity of jobs. And so another book I'd recommend is Looking Backward. It's written by Edward Bellamy in 1888, and he predicting what the future year 2000 would look like. And it's interesting because the high technology at the time was the telephone, like predates radio and anything like that. But anyways, so because there is a shortage of jobs, essentially people compete to be the best in their field for the privilege of, being, the surgeon on call, or being is having people compete to want to be the best. And so that was his suggestion on how you solve that problem of scarcity of jobs. There's other books that suggest that you could compete by, having your basic work week, and the more people who want the job, everybody has this. It's the same amount of. You could change the amount of hours everybody has to work, but you change the amount of hours to increase the supply and demand of labor. And but your last thing about people feeling resented for UBI, I guess that's the problem with the existing system, and that's the problem with means tested safety programs, is that there is that resentment, and that so often the resentment takes on racial overtones, like when Ronald Reagan talked about welfare queens and things like that. And so that's one of the real values in universal basic income, is that it's universal. And so, yeah, so that's my rebuttal to your points. Not to say that they aren't, and that universal basic income, while it's not perfect, it would do far more good than harm. And I yield.
Thanks, Brian. Sass, go ahead.
Julio, great job, Brian. You hit a lot of the same points I was going to. And yes, that video I posted is one of the first things I say in it, and you can just listen to it. You don't really need to watch it. I say, we talk so much about how UBI will, why we need it in the world that we have, but we don't talk very much about what a world with UBI could look like. And so I go into this concept of what I call all work is volunteer. But there's some like specific details to it, and it's an adaptable model. But the short of it is what Brian already said, is that UBI gives us the freedom to rethink work, and like, whereas like right now it's this like sense of being needed is coming from this place that's really destructive, and if we have a basic income, then we have the freedom to reconstruct that concept in a way that is just better for the health of people generally. I will also say, okay, cool. So I kind of want to not focus on like these like little, how do I want to say this? Let's not wish upon a star right now, because I feel like that's what we were getting into for a minute. Is like, okay, I know we say like end poverty sounds like a wish upon a star, but like, okay, end poverty, cool. That's universal basic, like Brian, end poverty, end mass incarceration, and endless wars. There's literally a legislative package for it. Decentralized power. My work with the Equal Vote Coalition, Democracy 3.0 in large, right? Big about that. And barriers to transportation. I like that concept without getting into this like, let's change all of culture and get every human being to think differently. I think that is like a different kind of like, okay, we're already have big goals. Let's allow this. Yeah, and misunderstanding is really cool. I don't know if we'll ever be able to end it, but the dramatically reduced misunderstanding, and misunderstanding is kind of catchy. So yeah, I can go with that. I think that's cool. So Yeah, but they don't, it doesn't all have to be ending stuff. We can start stuff too. We can make new things. We can, we can have positive stuff too. So I'm trying to think what positive things we could add. Uh, empower, oh, come back to me. I yield.
Thanks, Seth. So we are coming up on time. So I am, you know, gonna end the official meeting, and then afterwards, everybody's welcome to stay around and chat. But I think that this conversation is really good. I think it's a good conversation, and Neo, I know Neo's you know, a little bit you know, worked up about some of this stuff. There's some stuff he doesn't agree with here. There's some stuff he doesn't agree with here. So I think that right now Neo is the most important person in this group, because this is the crux of what we have to do. This is the work. This is the most important thing. And if we can do this, and it's not an easy thing to do, it's a thorny issue, it's a thorny problem. We can sort of almost do anything, because if you know, Seth talked a little bit about how, you know, you've got 300 million people, but you know, if you can actually take a much smaller sample of that 300 million people, and a lot of times, like, you'll actually end up with the same stuff. Like, you know, 10% say this, you know, 30% say that, 30% say whatever, and that's great. And that's the problem. You know, how do we build a consensus out of that? And if we can do that, then we can unite the people. And if we can unite the people, then we can do anything. So you know, Neo, there's a lot of I have a lot of ideas about you know, economics. And you know, I'll tell you personally, I started more from like a more standard economics thinking. And you know, after looking at a lot of stuff, you know, I've come to the conclusion that the progressives are right. And you know, right, and we need to provide services and things to everybody. So Neil, like, you know, I'm always I'd be happy to talk to you more about economic stuff, because I don't think we're gonna finish that I don't think we're gonna finish that discussion today. But I think that if we both you know, stick with this together, stick with talking to each other, I think that we can come to, you know, come to find the places where we agree. You know, we all share one common reality, and we all share a common set of human values. And I think that we can do it. It's not going to be easy, but I do have to end the meeting right now. So you know, thanks everybody who is listening on YouTube, and you know, see you back here in 1 week. Thanks. And stop. And stop.